Heaton people are very excited. I don't know if we've gotten a response like we got to the idea that you were coming to my house and helping with my wardrobe. We got a lot of emails about it, and I am here to announce that it is happening.
It's
next
happening.
weekend.
I'm gonna fly into Austin, Texas to become a tailor clothing steward for my good friend Justin.
Stylist.
Now, on that note, Justin, most of my stuff that I get is online, which I'm happy to go through with you on. So I can go to your house and throw stuff out, but I don't have that many places that I can take you shopping unless you want to get like cowboy gear.
I mean, look, I'm putting my life in your hands, dude.
Okay, I got 2 places I can take you.
Yeah.
But like for suits and stuff online.
Yeah, sure. I'm fine with it.
I'm looking for it. It's going to be fun.
I don't know, like we'll figure it out.
We have a nice mall.
I know all the stuff at the mall, though. We'll find out. I don't know. Look, the Heaton, the Witch, and the Wardrobe writes, can you monetize your birthday gift of a wardrobe change? Make a spoof episode of Queer Eye for the Straight Guy, except instead of a homosexual man helping you with your wardrobe, you have an Anglo-sexual Heaton helping you fit in with British high society.
Yeah, well, British high society, like maybe 80 years ago. I've hung out with some high society folks over the last few years. They definitely don't dress like me. They dress like they're going to go skiing in Aspen.
Yeah. I'm not trying to get to third base with the Dowager Countess. Like I'm just trying to look like I dressed on purpose.
I can't wait to see what this looks like.
I think we can pull this off.
We got a lot of stuff saying, can you record this? Can you film this? Can you make this content? We do have an offer from Brian Brushwood and Modern Rogue to record this and make it an episode. However, this weekend also, when Heaton's going to be here, also falls on Founders Day. So I don't think that they're going to have people available. So we might not be able to do it, but who knows? Who knows?
Is he doing stuff? I mean, like Founders Day's Saturday, right? Is he doing stuff Sunday as well?
I don't know.
Technically, that would be 2 days.
Yeah,
that's true.
Founders,
Jim makes a good point. By law,
days.
It can't be on Saturday and Sunday. It has to be on Saturday.
Yeah, you'd have to change everything.
Yeah.
That'd be too much.
Busy day for the... Oh, wait, hold on. Before we do that, we got mail. Hello, Justin, Jen, and Andy. Andy. I don't know whether or not it was just because that was the space left on the note, but it's Andy. These were a dumb idea my husband had, and I brought it to life. Thought you would enjoy given the discussion a couple of weeks ago. Danny wrote in. I read your real name if you send us stuff for free. They are pins. Let me go solo here. I survived Barbenheimer is the pin.
Oh my God.
It's got Margot Robbie as Barbie, but with the blast goggles worn during the nuclear test explosion scene in Oppenheimer. So Jen, you get one. Heaton, I'll give you one when you're down here. And I'm going to give the other two to the 2 women that I actually saw Barbenheimer with. So we were in theaters watching Barbenheimer, and thank you very much to Danny for making these pins for us.
I love that. That's super cute.
A busy day for the President of the United States. He is, I think, currently still sitting in oral arguments for the Supreme Court reading of birthright citizenship.
Oh, wow.
He is the first president, I believe, to do so.
Yeah, because usually they have other things that they need to do that day. It's not like we're at a war or anything.
Oh my God!
We'll get to that.
I'm sure he'll comport himself with the utmost decorum within the Supreme Court.
I think
do you think he'll stay quiet the whole time?
I bet $30 he shouts the word fart at some point during oral arguments.
He then will supervise our first moon mission in however many years since the late 60s. We're going to send the Artemis 2 around the moon. It will be the furthest that humans have gone into space ever.
Yeah.
And then at 9:00 tonight, an address to the nation on the state of our military conflict in Iran. Busy day for old Donald John Trump.
And I feel like we actually have to watch that damn speech. It's not like the State of the Union. This one kind of matters.
Well, this one will be short.
How do you know that? It is Donald Trump.
Because
he could go on for an hour and a half, start talking about fucking Rosie O'Donnell.
Because they have to carve out they have to carve out time that punches into network television.
He doesn't care.
Yeah, he doesn't care. I'm going to make a prediction. He's going to say we're doing great.
He does.
That's my prediction.
Well, the question really is, we've gotten a lot of mixed messages as to goals, next steps, what we consider a win condition, what we don't consider a win condition. There's a lot of talk about us leaving the Strait of Hormuz for other people to deal with, and yet we are moving more resources into the region.
50,000 men.
We're moving another aircraft carrier. We already have 10,000 Marines. There are more on the way. I don't think Marines. There are more troops on the way. So what? And then this morning, he said on Truth Social that the regime president, not as crazy as the old one, I'm only slightly paraphrasing here, has asked for a ceasefire. We will consider it when they open up the Strait of Hormuz. Until then, we will continue bombing them into the Stone Ages. I think he put a plural on age.
Well, hold on. Maybe Trump is referencing the upper and lower Stone Ages because he is a learned man.
Maybe.
Yeah.
It is unclear whether or not he's talking about the president of Iran. The president of Iran is a real figure, and he is a moderate. And according to leaked audio from Israeli media, he is somebody who was looking for a ceasefire. He was telling IRGC command that the Iranian economy was going to collapse in 2 weeks and that they needed to have some kind of negotiation. But he is not new. He was the president before. He is the president now. You can make the argument that now he might be more powerful. Before he was kind of a puppet of the supreme leader. He couldn't really do anything that the supreme leader didn't want. So maybe now he has more. I don't know. There's no position of regime president.
Well, and do we have confirmation that the supreme leader is actually alive yet? Has anyone seen him?
Nobody has seen him. Did you?
I can't say where, but
I know where. Certain kind of bars. Where
yeah, I was doing karaoke.
Certain kind of bars that
saw a Persian guy singing "It's Raining Men," and I was like, I recognize that dude. Yeah, I think Trump probably doesn't care about getting the titles right. That's probably the most accurate and good faith position. There is that he doesn't really give a shit making a delineation between the president versus the supreme leader. Secondary to that, he also might just not know. I don't think that he came in really, really hyper aware of everything going in Iran. I think that he is a vibes guy and he is a gut instinct guy, not a detail guy.
I have slightly more, not to say that Donald Trump could recite by memory everybody in the org chart for the Iranian regime. I think that there are people around him that have more of a detailed sense of exactly who is rising to power. The big question is, does anybody have control over the whole of Iran right now? And I don't think that we really have an answer to that. It seems that the IRGC is running the country and that the president has been essentially sidelined. He said in that leaked audio that he can only read the scripts that the IRGC says. The last time he apparently said something off script was him saying that Iran was not going to bomb its neighboring countries. And the IRGC said, like, lol, we're definitely doing that. And they did it immediately. So I don't know. I mean, China and Pakistan came out with a 5-point ceasefire. It seems like there are moves moving toward that. There were more ships that went through Hormuz yesterday That was a noted uptick from the last several days.
Yeah, apparently Pakistan, Malaysia, and China have gotten ships through, but with a heavy price tag. The common wisdom that I'm hearing now is that Iran wants to basically turn the Strait of Hormuz into a toll booth and collect millions of dollars from every ship.
They want to do that. I don't know whether or not that will happen. I think that is how they are selling the idea that they are going to get out of this ahead. But
I don't know who's going to stop them.
I mean, it is possible to stop them. The question is, if the United States does it, we kind of have to keep doing it forever. And that's the question of, where for whatever Iran was a vassal state to China before, I think it would essentially just kind of hasten that because China would be the one to continue to prop them up. The toll thing I don't think is going to happen, especially considering the Strait of Hormuz. I mean, it would put them in a direct hot war with Saudi Arabia and UAE, who essentially are apparently now, UAE at least saying that they are going to join the fight this week. Who knows whether or not that's going to be mentioned now, but I don't think realistically.
So many announcements that go nowhere on every side of this. Like, we're going to do a thing. And it's like, no, you're not.
Here's one. Did you guys know that Pakistan and Afghanistan are at war, or Pakistan and I can't remember? Like,
they have been for a long time.
Right. I like that.
No, but it
not getting a lot of press coverage though.
No. A lot of plate spinning. Turns out it's a big world. A lot of people do a lot of stuff. We're not going to talk.
I was talking to somebody over the weekend about what we're doing in Iran. I just bring this up as a data point for people. I found it interesting. Mm-hmm. So there's the Iranian Revolutionary Guard, the IRG, which is like, imagine if the Marines also owned Google and Halliburton and a construction company. It's a very, very well integrated thing. But there's also the regular army, just the Iranian army, which is different.
Yeah.
And what we are doing is avoiding bombing the regular army, but we're bombing the shit out of the IRG. And so the inference would be that we're hoping that the regular army does a coup or steps in and basically goes, IRG, you've had the ball for too long. We're going to take over now, and we're going to get presumably rid of the Ayatollah and have either a military dictatorship, or alternately, we will empower a new president to run a democracy or something. That seems to be the goal based on bombing patterns.
Yeah, from what I understand of the Baj, all military service is compulsory in Iran. You can serve in the Baj or you can serve in the IRGC. If you're not particularly ambitious, you serve in the Baj because they really don't do shit. Like, it's just not they have a high count of people that are there, but they don't really train.
Is that more of their National Guard equivalent? Is it sort of a reserve army as opposed to?
It's not supposed to be. It's just that the IRGC is far more powerful. And a lot of what the IRGC does is arm, fund, and train proxies in the region. They are the ones who are the exporting of Iranian power through terror in the Middle East and beyond. That's their job. That's not me saying that. That's what they do. That was like Soleimani, who Trump hit in the first administration. He was an IRGC guy. Now, they also run a lot of the economy. I think right now, the IRGC, we are probably dealing with right now a military coup of Iran. We're not talking about it. We're still pretending that the old system is there. But when you put a coma cripple into your God King role, it doesn't exactly speak highly of the fact that you believe there's a God King who is both the Pope and the unquestioned president of your society. So that means that somebody is running things. Somebody is deciding that they are going to fire missiles. Somebody is talking to China. Somebody is doing X, Y, and Z. And by all accounts, at least, based on what I can tell, it is the IRGC. The question is which faction of it, because I assume that it's probably splintered beyond that right now. And so whoever is talking to whoever, the largest questions that are unresolved are, I think the Hormuz thing is going to get worked out, mostly because Iran cannot sustain what they are doing because China doesn't want to pay that. China likes Iran because they get cheap oil from Iran. They're not going to pay retail for it.
Well, I mean, Iran gets to pick and choose who would have to pay, so they can just waive it for China. And then the neighbors that host our military bases, they have to pay the millions to get their ships through. I mean, they don't have to charge everyone. The point is that they have control.
Well,
this was something that, I mean, if you listen to NATO commanders and our own military commanders that are doing interviews, like this was something that was war gamed.
Yeah.
And so for Donald Trump to say like, well, no one could have seen this coming, like it's absolute bullshit.
I don't think he said that.
No, he literally said that.
That nobody could have seen the Strait of Hormuz coming?
Yes, literally said that. So I think that the Trump people didn't think this through, but this is something that it's one of the reasons that we didn't attack Iran in the past, because they knew the Strait of Hormuz was going to become a really big problem. Here we are. And my fear with this is I think this may have gotten out of Donald Trump's control. So even if he does pull us out of this, there is a whole open can of worms over there that I'm not sure that we can completely close, especially with Israel having their own motivations for being involved in this. And they're launching a lot of the bombs. So I'm going to watch what Donald Trump says tonight, but I'm not sure he's the main figure in this anymore.
Who is?
I think Benjamin Netanyahu is the one to really watch. I think you've correctly diagnosed that we don't really know who's in control in Iran.
Mm-hmm.
And what I'm hearing from the journalists who, right now, it's really tough to get information out of Iran.
Yes.
And so I think that's part of the problem, that we don't really know who's in charge. So it's tough to know who to watch over there. But that's another reason why I don't know if Donald Trump says, okay, we're done, that it's actually going to be done, because there's just too many people over there that are now angrier than they were. They have infrastructure that's damaged. This might be out of control already.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what I would define as out of control. Like you don't go and destabilize. When people are like, oh, they're going to be regime change, but it's not going to be like, oh, it'd be terrible if it's civil war. Regime change is civil war on some level. You want it to resolve faster than a prolonged civil war, but you are asking for a civil war. You are asking for internal forces to fight each other for power. The question is exactly what that is and who we're dealing with and where it goes from here. But I don't know if the baseline was what Iran was before, I don't know what out of control means.
For me, out of control is, unlike with Venezuela, when we said it's over, it's over. I don't think we can do that anymore. I think that the players in the region are going to be the ones that are deciding when this is actually over. I think had Donald Trump gone in and murdered the guy he thought was trying to murder him, the Ayatollah, and stopped, maybe that would have been one thing. But it's bigger now. And I think that a lot of the analysis that I've seen is that the Israelis have a lot of motivation to keep the bombing going because they want Iran to be a failed state, because that makes them the indisputed most powerful country in the region. Benjamin Netanyahu basically said as much. So even though we stop launching the bombs, we've allowed Israel to behave with such impunity anyway. I don't see us stopping them from continuing the war. So at this point, as an American, like one of the things that I desperately don't want to see is our soldiers going and invading Karg Island. That's where the Iranians have pretty much all of
That's where they export their oil.
Yeah, like 90% of it. And it's a small island. Like we would basically have to occupy it. You're just sitting ducks. Like I think we would lose a lot of people. I'm afraid for our troops in this moment as an American. That's probably my number one concern as an American, is our troops staying alive, because I think this is a hornet's nest that we can't control. And I don't think having boots on the ground on that island or in Iran itself is something that we are capable of controlling a situation, especially where we still don't know exactly what we're trying to do. Like, even if we are trying to do a regime change in Iran, who are we trying to install? Like, we don't actually know this.
Jen, we're doing this to stop the Iranians from getting a nuclear weapon. That's the purported reason, right? And we haven't previously done that, so we needed to do it right now.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not like we obliterated everything they had.
So I read I don't know the veracity of this, although I trust the source. Andrew Sullivan said that basically Israel was planning to launch a preemptive strike on Iran, and we decided to do it because we were like, well, either we got to do it now or they're going to lead the charge. Have either of you heard anything about that? That would indicate
that was
Marco Rubio. Yeah, Marco Rubio said that. I do believe that. The only thing that I would add to it is I think that subsequent reporting has illuminated that like this was not just Israel, this was Saudi Arabia, this was UAE that were pushing for this to happen. That Iran,
God, that sounds sufficient to do it themselves at that point, doesn't it? Like I think if Israel,
well, the question
and the UAE
then becomes, all right. So you've seen the result of how Iran has fought back, right? They have fought back by hitting their neighboring countries, even though at the point that America and Israel went in, both UAE and Saudi Arabia had declared themselves neutral and would not allow the United States to use their airspace. Iran attacked them anyway. And the reason why I think that they did it is because they were under no illusions that Saudi Arabia or UAE or even their friends in Oman, which had been the most friendly, were actually friendly to them. What I think we saw happen, we are a month ago now, was that this was a long time plan that Iran was a state for which the other Gulf countries believed this regime could not stay in there if they want the entire region to go where they want it to go. And I think that they wanted to be more Europe than Europe in 100 years. They wanted to be an economic powerhouse. They wanted to be an energy powerhouse. They wanted to be a technological powerhouse. And you can't do that with the Islamic Republic that is willing to blow up anything that they need to and is exporting their military budget to proxies in the region and not even building up their own military in their own borders. And the United States then had the decision to make of like, well, we know that if Israel hits Tehran, that it is American bases that'll be bombed in retaliation. And so either we wait for that to happen or we join the first offensive. And I think that their determination, we'll see whether or not it's wise or smart or moral or good. Their determination was that the war would go quicker if we had a heavier hand earlier, as opposed to waiting for provocation and then making a move. That's my read of it now. Again, they don't call it the fog of war because everybody can see it super fucking clearly. So
can I pause you, because I think that's a pretty good explanation. I want to make sure I've got that. Noting that I think this should have required congressional approval and it was unconstitutional, et cetera, et cetera. The good faith argument from the Trump perspective would be there's a bar fight that's about to break out between two guys at a table close to us, and we're fairly confident that when the bar fight breaks out, guy number one's going to start throwing beer bottles at us regardless of what we do. And so we might as well jump in with guy number two.
Right. Let's, if I might, abstract your metaphor and give you another metaphor in exchange. We've got friends in a neighborhood, and we like almost everybody in this neighborhood. And this neighborhood is about to blow up. Oh my God, it's about to be the most popular neighborhood ever. The problem is that there's one house at the end of the block. Holy shit, it used to be an amazing house.
Darren's house? Is it Darren's house?
Now it is. Like the people in there are fucked up. Like so you hear things inside that house that are just horrifying. People leave the house and they're like, you can't imagine the shit that's going on in this house.
Meth explosions.
Like fucking terrible. So every time that like they're trying to make this neighborhood really, really nice, that they bring in like investors or friends, they're like, what the fuck is happening at the end of the block? Like the end of the block is just an absolute disaster. They can't lift everything up if that exists. And now we are where we are. The question then becomes, does it make sense for America to be involved? And
well, actually, I think if I'm constructing, I want to understand both sides of this, right? And so I'm trying to make the good faith effort. I think I would still fall on the side of unconstitutional, but from a good faith effort, the immediacy of a probable attack speaks more highly to me in terms of legality than investment value for a neighborhood. So under the War Powers Act, if we're attacked, the president has the ability to respond within 2 months. we weren't attacked, but the idea would be we were going to get attacked either way. Therefore, we decided to go in to try to minimize loss for all parties. That it was sort of preemptive de-escalation, which sounds paradoxical, but preemptive de-escalation for an inevitability. That sounds to me like the best case argument from the Trump perspective. If you're concerned about constitutional law.
Yeah. I don't know if there's much here that I could say about the Constitution that would make anybody feel like it's more of a constitutional, it's constitutionally sound position beyond whatever, the initial, whatever 4 weeks or 9 weeks or whatever that like the Trump administration is saying that they have access to.
They have 60 to 90 days.
60 to 90 days. There we go. So I don't know if there's anything I can say there. The one thing, to go back to my metaphor about the fucked up neighborhood, the problem is everybody's wanted this house out forever. They've really wanted to deal with it for a very, very long time. There's one house at the corner of the block that really wants them out, that is really talked about. And, you can see sometimes the people in the fucked up house will pay people to sit outside the one house at the end of the block and they'll throw shit at their windows and stuff like that. There's a whole different thing, but it's neighborhood drama. Go check the next door. But boy, did they really, really want them out. But now what's happened is that the rest of the neighborhood has done it. And here's what's really changed. Normally, that house, the fucked up house at the end of the block, they've got friends that will stand up for them. So much so that to even deal with them would be a major, major problem. And let's call these friends Russia and China, just for metaphorical example. Right now, Russia's broke and China is in the middle of reshuffling their military because they've got other grander plans and they're not in a position that they could militarily step in for the house. So essentially, and also all the proxies have been destroyed because of October 7th. So there's that, like the redundancies that always were a problem about attacking Iran, to step out of the metaphor, was you're starting World War III. If you attack Iran, you're starting World War III because Russia and China is going to join the fight. And now you are in a world war. The two places that would step in for them right now are not in a great place to do so. So now that is less of a likelihood. The other thing is that Iran has proxies all over the region. And so you are essentially lighting the entire Middle East on fire because the Houthis, Hezbollah, Hamas will all come in and just wreck fucking house everywhere. All those proxies, including Syria, with Bashar al-Assad, have had not a great last 3 years. They've been attrited a lot. So now that risk is lower than it would be otherwise. Not zero, but lower than it would be otherwise. And I think you've seen that over the last month. So the argument to go now is that the shields are down on a level that you're probably not going to see for another 25 years, if at all. And that if you don't hit now and they get a nuke, now it's never going to change, ever. The Islamic Republic will be in Iran forever. This is a do or die, now or never scenario for those people in the region. And that's why I think they wound up attacking Saudi Arabia and UAE, because they understand the same thing. They want less jihad, more John Cena. They want this to be an entertainment destination for people all over the world. The Iranians have to fucking go. The Ayatollah has to fucking go. And our decision is, well, with people with a heavy military presence there that knows you are going to get shelled by the Iranians, do we pretend that we're not going to get it? And then say, well, you hit us, now we're going to hit you back? Or do we go in earlier with the hope that this goes faster? That's just how I see it. I'm not saying that's exactly what it is. That's what makes sense to me, having watched it.
And that tracks with what, I mean, obviously there's been a lot of mixed messages, but if you were to take them and kind of make a, mosaic of all of them, that sounds about right to me.
The biggest tell for me was when Iran started hitting Saudi and UAE immediately. Mm-hmm. That it wasn't like they even waited. They fucking hit it immediately. And then you start hearing all the stuff that Mohammed bin Salman is like been just as much of a force as Netanyahu to take out the Iranians.
I mean, they've wanted us to do this forever, but now we just have a president dumb enough to do it. So that was also a factor. Like, our president since George W. Bush had said no for a lot of different reasons. Trump's different.
Keep in mind, though, that Trump ran on "We need more wars in the Middle East." Like that was one of his bumper stickers. We're one war away from a lasting peace. That was his phrase.
Yeah, and look, I do think that there is an irony to Dick Cheney looking from the great beyond. I'll allow our listeners to place where he is, but and saying, perhaps I judged you too harshly, Donald Trump. Maybe I was not familiar with your game. There is a class of people for whom have believed that this was a domino that needed to fall in the region for a very, very long time. It has been the cornerstone of John McCain, of Nikki Haley, of George W. Bush. You can make the argument that everything that we've done, Afghanistan was going to get it after 9/11 no matter what, but Iraq was pushed by Iraqi dissidents that had come to America, that was a way to box Iran in, that you couldn't take down Iran because of various different reasons. And that was a hedge against Iran. The idea of going after them immediately, the idea of killing the Ayatollah, the idea of degrading that regime, if not imperiling it, has been a foreign policy desire for a very, 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 very long time.
That is absolutely true. When you go back and you look at the Bush era people, they thought two things were going to happen. I think that we went in for the oil is obtuse. There were people that got away with a lot of money, but that wasn't the proximate cause for going into Iraq. The two reasons were they thought we were going to go into Iraq, we would be welcomed as liberators, and Iraq would become desert Hong Kong or Middle Eastern Japan. It would be this friendly country that became a stalwart ally of the United States in a staging operation for going after Iran. And it turns out that neither of those things came to pass.
I think Iraq has probably been more stable than people might have thought. It has not descended into.
No, that's true. The last 10 years, but there was a long transition period to get there. Yeah. And I don't know how fragile it is now.
I agree. Yeah. Look, can I tell you something that I think we're going to agree on, Jen?
I love that.
I will say this, and I have been more of a maximalist for Israel's point of view in the region. I do find their argument sympathetic that they have been bedeviled by proxies that were largely funded by Iran. And I supported them degrading the Houthis. I supported them degrading Hamas, although I think that there's reasonable conversation that can be had about how ugly that conflict was. And I think that they have plenty of justification to go after Iran after how much Iran has gone after them. That being said, that's my line. Any conversation that we're talking about, I hear people talk about Turkey and shit like that. We're done. We did the thing that I think that makes sense to me from their point of view. That's where they are out of favors, in my opinion. They are out. That is where my sense of the region is. Any conversation beyond that is something that I am not here for at all whatsoever. I am. Netanyahu got his wish list. He went after every single one of these proxies. They flipped Syria. They have an opportunity to go after Iran. If they were going to go after Iran now, it makes sense to me that they were going to do it. There is no love lost between those two countries, and they have spent a lot of time and money trying to kill each other. They got a maximal United States side by side. We hit a bunker bomb on a missile city in Isfahan over the week, over the last 72 hours. That was insane. Who knows where their missile capacity is? Every military person, to plug PX3, I had a military person on, because every military person that I talked to is over the moon at what's happening in Iran, that it's the most insane, effective military campaign of all time. And nobody else is that rosy. And I had that conversation. So they got what they wanted. And that is, for me, as somebody who supports Israel's right to exist, we're good. I consider myself, I still think that they are a a partner in the region. I think that we get a lot from them technologically, but in terms of the military commitment to attack their enemies, we're done.
It's funny how we do agree on that. Although for me, the red line is so far in the rear view mirror that, but it is interesting to hear that this is your red line. When you were talking about your, I think, very apt analogy about the neighborhood.
Yeah.
And how the neighborhood is concerned that you have this crack house, which wants nuclear weapons, which threatens the neighbors. And as you were saying that, the precedent for this, because I don't think they're the only neighbor that the neighbors are concerned about. I think the neighbors are also rightfully concerned about Israel, because there are people in that government at the very highest levels who want to expand the borders of Israel. Right now, they are bulldozing homes in southern Lebanon because they are taking more land from Lebanon. So they're taking land in Gaza, the West Bank, Syria, Lebanon. And if you look at the Greater Israel Project, there are people in this government that think that they have the biblical right to all the land in Jordan, all the land in Lebanon, land in Saudi Arabia, Iraq, and Egypt. That is a threat to the region. So if you look at the precedent being set now, you're concerned about a neighbor that wants nuclear weapons. Israel has them.
Mm-hmm.
A neighbor that wants to expand and threatens the neighbors. This is something that the people in this government, some of them, shouldn't say all of them because that is far from the truth, but too many in the Israeli government have an expansionist view.
And I will agree with you that because of coalitional parliamentary reasons, it is a fringe contingent that is never shot down by the prime minister. Mm-hmm. It is never labeled fringe by the prime minister because it is such a slim and tenuous coalition. He allows them to say everything that you are saying. You are not, there's no lie coming out of your lips, in my opinion, as to the out and out maximalist aims by the fringe right of Israel. And so I don't blame anybody. My sense of it is that they are still fringe, but I don't blame anybody if you listen to what they say and take them seriously.
Yeah. And so if you look at the neighbors, it's not like taking out Iran makes a peaceful neighborhood. There's still another problematic neighbor. And I'm afraid that this precedent will tell the neighbors like, okay, this was allowed when we did it to Iran. If that problem is taken care of, does the eye of Sauron point towards Israel next?
The difference is that, in my opinion, that those neighbors are signing peace deals and normalization deals with Israel right now.
Till Israel comes for their border. That's
I and this is my guess. I'm willing to be proven wrong here. I tend to believe that everybody else in that region sees Israel as more of a partner to where they want to go. Now, maybe Israel fucks that up. Maybe Israel is exactly as bloodthirsty as Boltrick or whatever his name is. That Smotrich. That's it. That is exactly as Greater Israel focused and like, cool. If we knock over the Ayatollah, then let's attack a NATO country in Turkey next. Like maybe it is. I don't think so.
Not.
I don't think so, but maybe it is. And in that case, then yeah, there is going to be a major problem. I think that everybody in that region, minus Iran, is really, really, really envisioning that the balance of power 50 years from now is multipolar, and it is the United States, the Middle East, and China. And that somewhere in the middle, there is a Russia and Europe that kind of flounders as a second order player on some level, swimming around that. Maybe Russia's higher than that, but I think they view themselves as a successor power to Europe. And they cannot have that if Iran is there. I think that they can see that, like, all right, we can have a neighbor that we hate, but we make money with. That happens in Europe all the time. If the French and the British can trade,
it's called the European Union.
Yeah, like, it's not like they didn't spend generations killing each other. And then eventually you build a channel and, you have a bunch of, you play soccer against each other every once in a while. Like, I think that's what they see. And the only neighbor that is incompatible with that vision for them is Iran.
Well, I think there's a hierarchy of baddies. Right. And it's like, if Israel keeps up their extraordinary level of violence, I just don't see, no matter what happens to Iran, this ending peacefully. If Israel signs something with the rest of the world saying these are our borders and we're going to respect them, which, I mean, they've never done that. But if they were to also say that they want peace in the region, they would like business partners as opposed to, you know, these are people we need to clear out of the land so that we can build apartment buildings. There is a path here, but so far Israel's behavior makes
that is what the Abraham Accords are. The Abraham Accords are that normalization. So, you know, we'll see. And I don't know. I think anybody who guesses what's happening in the Middle East, the one thing I will say when we talk about extraordinary violence is like, there's what we believe is extraordinary violence. And then there's the Middle East, like the Middle East where the reformer, we need to let women drive. We need to open up to the West. We need to invest in Uber. The Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman is the same guy who bonesawed a motherfucker for talking shit in a group chat. Like there is a level of the way things go down there that is, we are soft little babies compared to how they deal with problems in that region.
The people there deserve so much better. That's what breaks my heart too. They just keep getting caught in the middle of this barbarism. It's such a shame.
This is why the Heaton Accords are what we need to do. I've previously mentioned my plan on the program. The Heaton Accords are as follows. No one gets to live in Israel, Gaza for 100 years. We're going to give Gaza, everybody living there, you live in Baja, Mexico. Everybody in Israel, you get the part of New Mexico nobody's living in right now. And everybody gets a timeout. You can visit, but you can't sleep there. No one can sleep in either place. You have to do a day trip and then get back on a boat. And for 100 years, nobody can go there. We're not going to let anybody move back until everybody agrees to be friends.
And you're going to enforce that, right?
Yes.
Okay. Just to be clear.
I feel
if not, we're going to add in the Roma
before being like it would just like either shot in the head by a sniper or beheaded, maybe at the same time. Yeah. In fact, killing Heaton might be the only thing that brings the region together.
Hey, maybe that'll be how it happens.
At least you played your role.
Yeah.
From Austin, Texas, I'm Justin Robert Young, joined in studio.
I'm Jen Briney.
And in Washington, D.C.,
I'm Andrew Heaton.
We're not wrong. On this edition of the program, we're going to talk about how heavy social media users sour on democracy and Disney adults, which were written about by the Times of London. All that plus your emails. According to Axios, a new poll from the Charles F. Kettering Foundation and Gallup finds that heavy social media users are less likely to view democracy as the best form of government and are more open to anti-democratic attitudes. While about 72 to 73% of Americans who use little or no social media prefer democracy, that drops to 57% among those who spend 5 hours or more per day online. Heavy users are also more likely to see facts as subjective and to justify political violence, though they simultaneously report feeling more respected and more empowered to influence national outcomes. The findings suggest that while social media broadens access to ideas, it might also contribute to a more fragmented and less stable democratic outlook. Jen, is the threat to democracy real? Or is it just the Instagram reels?
I see what you did there.
Yep. I went to journalism school.
Money well spent. I feel like the more time you spend on social media, the more you sour on the whole damn world. So nothing about this surprises me. I find that obviously my algorithm is extremely political. I find that I don't sour on the system of democracy, the idea behind it, but the implementation of it and the hypocrisies in the places that call themselves democracy. I find that the more I'm exposed to information, like for instance, I've done a whole episode on this. I actually talked about it again in the most recent Congressional Dish, but there's something called the National Endowment for Democracy that gets money from our State Department. And the further you go down that rabbit hole, like it is the least democratic fucking institution that you can imagine. They say they do things for democracy. It was literally created to take the spook shit that the CIA was doing, like regime change operations, and kind of bring it out into the open. And that's what they specialize in. They funnel our tax money and private money to these groups that meddle in other countries. It's just like, it's not democratic. And yet we have this word democracy on it. And so while I do like the system, the ideals, the theoretical democracy, the way that democratic countries, myself or my own country, definitely on the top of the list here, is implementing what they call democracy is so hypocritical that it makes me sour on the people that are in charge of democracy right now. It's not so much the system. I still believe the system could work if we had good stewards who meant what they said in charge of it. But I do find the more information I get, the more hypocritical it seems. I also get some reels from like China where they've built, an entire network of high-speed rail trains in like 10 years. And it's like, damn, they get shit done.
There should be a word for that when you, create things that push a narrative from another country.
Well, yeah, it's probably propaganda, but the trains exist. They exist in China in a way they don't exist here. And you can't really deny the fact that some of the stuff happened,
They do exist.
They do big things. They're also in a depression right now.
Does make
there's pros and cons.
I'm not defending the Chinese government, Andrew. Calm down. But I am saying that
I'm not defending the Chinese government t-shirt is raising a lot of questions that are answered by the shirt.
Yeah, we don't need to fight about this. But I am saying that when you see results, when I see something that I am desperate for here in the United States, in other places, I'm seeing lying and hypocrisy and stuff coming from my government, which pretends to be all about human rights and democracy. And like time after time, it's just exposed as bullshit. It's not the system that upsets me, but it's the perversion. It's like that word democracy's been hijacked by people to cover a different system. And I don't know what we're calling this. I know a lot of people are settling on oligarchy, but this ain't democracy, but they keep calling it that. And I think that is what I know I'm reacting to. And so if you were to have me in this poll, you'd have to ask me very specifically what you mean, but it's like, how do you feel about American democracy? If that was the question, like I would struggle to be gung-ho for it, seeing the implementation over the course of my lifetime. So I understand the sentiment.
How much time do you spend online on social media?
Oh,
pull out your phone. There's a whole thing.
There is a thing on my phone.
You can see it.
Let's find out. I haven't looked in a long time. Ask Andrew and then I'll let you know.
Heats. Is this is democracy being eroded by social media addicts?
Do you want me to tell you my bit or ask my questions for Jen first? Which way do you want me to go?
Give me your bit because she's looking at her phone.
Where do I find it? Grandma doesn't know. I thought maybe I'd open it and my brain would know.
I think it's like usage or something. Go ahead, Heats.
I think that social media is a threat to democracy, but not in the existential sense like a meteor about to wipe out the dinosaurs, more of type 2 diabetes of the system itself. It's something like sugar that when taken in trace amounts can be a nice treat, when taken in massive amounts causes problems. I've got a couple of thoughts on the people that think that democracy is not the best system. The first one is, whenever we're looking at stats like this, we need to be thinking about correlation and causation. The way that the article is framed is that people that spend 5 hours a day online decide that democracy is bad. It may be the other way around. Like, who's spending 5 hours a day online? I would say 99% of the people that spend 5 hours a day on social media are not living their best life. I'm not saying social media is bad. I'm not saying you shouldn't go on there. I'm saying if you're spending 5 hours a day on social media, something went wrong. That's not ideal. It's not optimal. And presumably, a lot of people that are struggling or having a difficult time are filling the void, either the time that they aren't having a job or a family or something with social media. And so for people that already are struggling, it would be very easy to say the system is failing. Let's get rid of the system. Let's get rid of democracy, in which case it would be a correlation causation thing. The other thing I'll add is I would be very curious to see what the questions were that led them to have this end result of 57% think democracy is a bad idea. I don't believe they had the wording of the question in the article, but I would be curious to that. Did they say, are there other systems better than democracy? Did they say democracy's bad? Like, the wording oftentimes affects these. And then the final thing I'll say is I think there's a very good point or a very good chance that a lot of the people that say democracy is not a good system, 43% of people that spend 5 hours online, according to this poll, it's possible that they're just doing that for the lulz or saying a big fuck you. Like, when you see like statistics come out, there was one that came out like 20 years ago, 15 years ago, that 30% of Americans don't believe in the geocentric or the heliocentric theory, something like that. And I'm just like, I've never met a single one of them. And I'll go to gas stations and stuff. It's not like I'm completely living in an echo chamber. I think
Wait, Professor Heaton, I don't know what that means.
I mean, like, when I hang out in Wagner, I'll go hang out at Walmart and talk to people. Like, I'm not just hanging out with people in cosmopolitan cities.
Parties.
Yeah. I'm driving through the country pretty regularly. I've never met anybody that believes in the geocentric theory. And I think it's possible that when people ask that question, a lot of people just go, fuck you, and give you a answer because they're pissed off or because they just want to see what happens. So I don't know. So I take this, the polling itself, I take with a grain of salt for those reasons. But let's just assume it on face value that it's correct and its inferences are correct. I do think social media in large amounts is harmful to democracy. I think it's caustic to democracy. Democracy requires a base level of trust to exist. You have to believe in rule of law. You have to believe in institutions, and you have to believe to some extent in the intelligence of your countrymen. If those various forms of trust fail, then democracy fails. It doesn't work if you don't have trust. You can't make it work if everybody has a gun pointed at their head constantly. It requires everybody to buy into the system to some extent. Social media is not optimized for nuanced truth or delayed gratification. It's optimized for immediacy and emotional elevation. What emotions, you ask? Not good ones, negative ones. There's lots of data we've got from many studies that hatred, fear, us versus them narratives, villains, these stories move further and they move faster than uplifting ones. And so negative stuff tends to pervade in social media much more powerfully than positive stuff does. And if you're going to marinate in that for 5 hours a day, particularly if you're marinating in political media, you are going to be exposed to a relentless algorithm of catastrophic thinking, that the system is horrible and has failed, that the reason for it is villains, and that the villains are probably whatever party you're not. And the result is that those trust levels plummet. And that does worry me. I think like it's not as if we haven't had periods of American history where just blatant propaganda or lies were propagated by the media or the government. It's not like that's new. But the sense of unreality that I think is becoming mainstream is disconcerting. Like, I was at a party here this last weekend, probably where I got sick with a cold that I've currently got. And I was talking to a aspiring lifelong politician who's currently in pupa form. And I asked him, why do you want to run for office? And he went, America's just, it's not working. We don't make things anymore, and everything's too expensive. And I was like, well, okay, housing is more expensive, and college is more expensive, and healthcare are more expensive. Those are really big things. But wages are up, and we export 6 times as much stuff as we did at the advent of NAFTA. Like, we by any definition make more stuff now than we did in the 1990s. And it was like, that basic floor level of data for a guy that lives in Washington and wants to run for office was just absent. There was just this collective, like, we all agree we don't make things in America anymore. That's just become a very easy meme to do. So yeah, I think if you're doing too much social media, it's not good for you in general, just as a human being. And when you aggregate that up, when you scale it up on the macro level, it's probably not very good for democracy. People should think of it like a donut that they put in their brain, rather than some kind of sustenance. It's a temporary treat. It's not something you should do 5 hours a day.
Meth houses and shoving a donut in your ear, the kind of metaphors that you can expect from the We're Not Wrong program. Yeah. Jen?
I mean, I don't think it's
hold on. Give me the.
Oh, an hour and 40 minutes is my average.
An hour and 40 minutes of all social media content?
Because I took Twitter off of my phone. Mm-hmm. So all I really have is Instagram. The hour and 40 is more than I would like, but I also kind of use it. And so this is what I was going to say to Andrew. Like, I also kind of use it for news. Like, there's certain people that I go specifically to their accounts to find out what's going on because they've proven themselves trustworthy to me. And the algorithm just keeps feeding me their content. So I don't think it's all donuts, but I think you also have to take some responsibility for your own algorithm and your own usage time. And but I feel like I learn a ton from social media. I mean, I have access to professors. I was listening today to Heather Cox Richardson, who's a professor at Boston College, a college I could not get into. I've listened to MIT professors. Stanford, Dr. Huberman changed my life with his episode about alcohol.
Hold on, Jen, are you referring to podcast? Like when I say social media, I mean Facebook, Instagram.
Clips.
I mean like
clips. Clips and reels.
But clips is how I'm exposed to a lot of this stuff. Like I don't always have time to do a 3-hour podcast, but do I have time to watch a minute to 5 minutes of something really interesting from someone who is brilliant and who I wouldn't otherwise have access to? Like I sure do. So I don't think it necessarily is all donuts. I think that there's some real nutritious information there, but it's up to us to unfollow the ones who, like there's this professor that's been going around, Professor Jang. Yes. And I saw him originally on a clip from Breaking Points and I was like, okay, let me see what this guy is up to. I immediately caught some things that I just knew not to be true. So I unfollowed him and then Instagram keeps giving me his content and I'm saying, I don't want to see it anymore because I know this guy can be full of shit. And he's all about predictions and stuff. And I'm like, no. This is donuts. I don't want donuts. But I am making sure that the stuff that has been proven to be bullshit, it no longer comes onto my feed. And I think that if you're spending 5 hours a day just mindlessly scrolling and believing everything that comes, like that can be harmful. But it doesn't have to be that way. I don't think social media is all bad at all.
We spend
and I don't think it's all bad. Again, I'm thinking of this like sugar or something like that, or let's say you have a grocery store open up near your house. There's lots of good stuff in there. If you're only going to the candy bar section and that's all you're using it for, and that seems to be where a lot of people are going, then but like I don't disagree that there's good stuff out there. I do think that the algorithm tends to select for worse stuff, or at least emotionally evocative stuff.
I think that's the case. To be on Jen's side on this one, like I think, all right. Metaphor heavy show. Apologies. If it is not nutritious, it is also because we are in a food desert. Like there used to be places. There used to be like people for whom would work their way up their entire careers to work at Time Magazine or Life Magazine or any of these places that used to be the pinnacle of tastemaking and understanding knowledge. Now, I've been very, very critical of blindly believing those gatekeepers, but there's no doubt that there was more time spent on the ladder where people were refining a craft, whether or not it was the best. Now, we only have this. So it's like, okay, I want to be exposed to people that are thinking, that have the best talent, that are creating stuff at a speed that I want to consume it. That doesn't exist in mass media anymore. It exists almost exclusively on social media. That's pretty much the only place where it is. And so it's like, I don't blame people for getting all their information on social media. I think that we are in a very feral media epic right now. Whether or not that'll change, I think it probably will. History would say it will. But I don't blame people for doing it. Yeah, I mean, I would say that right now, what I think we should be cognizant of, and I talked about this on PX3, is that what we are living through is yellow journalism. We are living through a world in which we self-select the flavor of news that we want to get. And that is aided by the algorithms. The algorithms are giving us exactly what we want, but much in the same way that you used to go to either a Pulitzer paper or a Hearst paper, depending on your political leanings, because these people will tell me the truth, not like the liars who say this over here. We do that now. It's just a micro version of it. We reward people that give us, that we can understand their priors enough that they tell us the truth. Now, the best versions of that are people that will challenge the priors, that will say, hey, maybe this is not what I thought it was. And I always reward outlets for doing that, for like in moments where it's very, very clear that you can either steer into the skid and go into like super crazy land, or just give one moment of like tap the brakes and say, guys, can we calm down for a second? Then I'm always happy about that. As much as I would like to criticize, and I have criticized like Cenk and Ana from the Young Turks, there are times where they will tap the brakes. And I think that that's a lot harder to do than anybody who's not making content can understand. Like, it's very, very hard for Ana Kasparian to come out and say, hey, I think homelessness is a problem and we should take police more seriously. With that audience, she's going to get ripped limb from limb. When Cenk is like, hey, I think it's bad that Charlie Kirk got shot. Rip limb from limb. Like, now it doesn't mean that I agree with everything that they say, but I very much value them for doing that. I do think that it speaks a little bit more to their character. But that's hard. It's really hard. And it's hard when you see people leaving, when you see your view counts go down, when you see your subscribers go down. It's very, very hard to do. Every incentive leads you to reinforcing priors. Now, what do we do with that? I think just be aware, but I don't blame the average for going down a rabbit hole. What I think this speaks to is that people are, as the kids say, black-pilled. When you confirm your priors enough, and to your point, Heaton, you follow that road down the darkest path because it's the most interesting to follow, you want to see where it goes, then yeah, I don't blame you for your irradiated brain for just thinking like, wow, you know, ever since Epstein became president, I think I should move to China because everything's going great.
Justin, I think last week you said something to the effect of politicians, political leaders want you to be angry and afraid and plugged into everything because that makes you a battery in the matrix, another apt metaphor. Yeah. I'd say that for media people too. If the media people you're consuming regularly give you a feeling of hatred or fear of the rest of your country, they're selling you something and you're a product to them. It doesn't mean that occasionally they can't say something that'll piss you off or scares you, but when you're just getting a main line of negative stuff from them, that is something that's addictive. And I think that's a major thing to look out for. Is the person basically selling you fear and hatred and anger? Cut that person the fuck out of your media diet.
Yeah, it's easier said than done though, you know, because we like to know that we're right.
I don't know. I feel like there is more algorithm awareness now than there used to be. I think that when Twitter first came out and it was all chronological back in the glory days when I loved that app, and then they started tinkering with it and we were kind of discovering together that they were tinkering with it, being like, why is it that I'm seeing the same tweet over and over again? Like, we were kind of confused about what was happening. If you're someone who's just getting onto social media now, if you're a teen, you are aware of the algorithm. Like, even out at volleyball, I overheard a conversation where one of the girls was saying, yeah, I'm training my algorithm that all I want is dog videos. And it's like, she was going out of her way to look at only dog videos.
TikTok is a thing. Ashley did that. She was like, I just want babies and birds.
Yep. Yeah.
That's
and so
it.
you train it. And I feel like the more I hear these conversations, it's like, the social media companies could only get away with tricking us for so long, but we're kind of on to this game now. We know what it is. So I just feel like our generation in particular, we grew up without even having the internet. And so we are kind of at the forefront of all these things. Like, we're surprised by all the new developments. I think the people younger than us are less surprised. And I would really like to see the age, the demographics that was polled here, because I still never get polled. I feel like the people that get polled are the boomers that are at home with landlines. And so if this was a poll of a bunch
boomers are the biggest fucking iPad kids.
They are, it's that like crack to them. They're constantly on their screens. And also I find that it's the boomers that are just getting tricked all the time. Like, I don't know anybody in my age group who is like a fire breathing MAGA the way I do with some of the boomies. Like, they just buy it all. So I feel like they're the ones.
I mean, all mine have gone the other way. Like, all mine are like fucking like praying one day that Donald Trump will catch a bullet in the eye.
Sure.
Like, yeah.
It's different sides of the same coin.
Yeah.
It's like,
it's just more extreme. It's a lot more extreme than I ever remember any of these people being.
100%. And I don't see that in my age group or lower. I do see people on the two sides, but not like as so tribal and, 5 hours a day on social media. I feel like all of us are kind of doing social media diets, where we know it's bad. We have these methods for like, oh, I need to put my phone down. I don't check it when I get up. Like all of us are training ourselves how to deal with the addictions that we have because we're aware of the addictions. We're aware of the algorithms. I don't know that older people are aware of either.
No.
There also might just be an age thing there too. My friend Charlie, who's a listener of the show, sent me an infographic some years ago that I thought was brilliant, where it was a graph. Imagine a U, like a bell curve, where at either end, on the extremes, it's if they just gave me power, I could fix the entire system. And it's along a system of 18 to 60. And so people that are 18 are like, yes, 100%. People that are 60 are like, yes, 100%. People from like 30 to 50 are like, fuck it. The system's too complex. Nobody can fix it. And I'm like, yeah, that kind of tracks. I think when you're like in the middle of your working years, you tend to take kind of a position of like, I don't know, it's a giant fucking morass. Let's just plod along as best we can and hope nothing falls off the rails. Once you're out of the workforce or pre-workforce, you can be like, oh, if only they gave me the nukes, I can fix everything.
Yeah. One last thing on this. I do think that part of the reason why we see the kind of algorithms aggressively push us toward more sticky content that you watch all of, that tends to be more extreme because we are more interested in outlier opinions, is because of ad maximalization. They need to show more ads, and so they need to keep you on the platform longer. That is the content that they push. Back in the day, kids ask your parents, on Facebook, once a month, reliably, there would be a viral post that would say, Facebook is thinking about making a subscription. Share this to know that you'll never pay for Facebook. And it was a thing that happened all the time. It was never do it. The unsaid part of that is show me ads. I want to see ads. I would like to see ads. I would like this to be free. And I would like to see ads so we could do it. It works for television. Why wouldn't it work here? With ChatGPT, and this is part of the OpenAI podcast, when I look at the comments leading up to them deciding to do ads in ChatGPT, the number one comment almost all the time was no ads. Ads ruin everything. Ads are bad. That is how far we've come. Now, I don't think that like if you actually talk about whether or not Facebook would have been better if there was a subscription service or whether or not ChatGPT is going to be ruined by ads. There's a million different actual conversations that you can have about those two decisions specifically. But if we're just looking at a cultural attitude, we went from this should be free, never make me pay for it, I will be the product, to I'm willing to pay for this. Don't show me an ad because it's going to make it worse. And I do think that matters, to your point about a generational change.
I agree with that completely.
Before we move on, I did want to ask Jen, you said at the beginning of our conversation that it wasn't that you doubted democracy, but that you doubted whether we were a democracy or something to that effect. I don't want to put words in your mouth. Can you elaborate on that, please?
Well, just look at our system. Our system isn't serving people very well right now. Our system, through all kinds of different changes from jerry-rigging to legalized bribery, our system is currently serving the richest among us. And I think that we know this.
I have a lot of problems with their system. I guess, so for not for you, for friends that I have that are like, America is not a real democracy, which I don't think you've said. But like for my friends that are in that camp, and I guess why that pricked my antenna, and it sounds like I'm thinking of a different thing than what you're talking about. But for them, like, I've heard some of my friends say America's not a real democracy, and I'm always curious as to where they thought the real democracy was, because we didn't have women vote till 1920. The Civil Rights Act's 1961. Reagan's in the 80s. So like I think there's like to those folks maybe like a 20-year period where we're actually a functional country between like Johnson to Carter. But that doesn't sound like what you're saying. So I'll digress on that.
Well, I know I was raised through my schooling and everything to believe that we were a democracy. And I think you have really, really good examples of us striving to be better. So it's like democracy was the goal and we were making changes to make it better. In my lifetime, we've gone the other way. So there used to be limits on campaign contributions. Now those are gone and we can see how much are in there. When I was younger, the districts weren't gerrymandered this openly and brazenly, like entire strategies. Project Red Map in 2010, where the Republicans went out of their way to win the state houses in order to rig the
We're running successful campaigns for it. They did it in California, they did it in Virginia, they did it in Texas. Yeah, it's happening right now.
We have voter referendums about should we rig our districts.
Rig our district more. Yeah. We're going to win.
Exactly. That's how we're going to win, is essentially by cheating. We're going backwards over the course of my lifetime. So it's where we were always an imperfect, obviously, democracy. I mean, we counted Black people as like not full people in the beginning. So we obviously had huge problems.
We did worse than that.
Yeah, we did a lot worse than that. But then they got the vote. Women got the vote. I felt like we were striving to be better. And then since the 1980s, it's gone backwards. And some of the awareness that I've gotten from this has come from social media, has come from other content creators who dug up these stories and helped me understand like how we got here. I think I'm actually one of the people that's doing that for others. So, and I don't know, honestly, Andrew, I don't know if I would call this a democracy in this moment. I'm not sure, because what I'm witnessing, especially paying so much attention to Congress, our government sure does seem to be serving just the wealthy right now. Because I mean, just looking at the big, beautiful bill alone, I read that bill. It so clearly hurts anyone who makes less than $350,000 a year financially, that it's just clear who's it's serving and who it isn't. And so I just, I don't know. I would like us to go back to striving to being the democracy. At this point, I don't see it. I see us going in the other way.
I think, we could have a larger conversation about everybody that did that was democratically elected. Now, like, do you make them take an oath to serve in the way that Jen Briney believes that they should serve,
or how they ran? I think one of the big problems we have is,
but that's not democracy. That's just people being scummy. That's us willfully electing bad people.
Well, I think it's also us willfully not paying attention to what they do after we elect them, because I think a lot of people elected Republicans based on what they said, and they don't pay attention to what they do. So you do have people that voted for Republicans. I mean, just look at the Iran war. We already talked about it. Mm-hmm. They got voted in as like the peace people. Now, if you've been paying attention for the past forever, you know that Republicans tend to not be the most peaceful party. But if you are a voter who's only paying attention to words, you voted for Donald Trump and you're like, oh my God, he went to war in Iran. I didn't see it coming. And it's like, because in between elections, we don't pay attention. So it's like democracy also takes an informed, active population to make it work. And we don't have that right now either. So I'm not only blaming the politicians, I am absolutely blaming us as well.
Yeah.
What I'm hearing is that Nixon was the high watermark of American democracy.
I'm back, baby.
It's in that 20-year period, and we almost impeached a president. Like that is like the zenith of American democracy, is the moment that Nixon got ousted for Watergate. Because there's only like a 20-year stretch then.
I mean, like Nixon and the Congress created the Environmental Protection Act, something that you would never see this Congress do.
Yeah, Nixon love. I am not a crook, said old tricky Dick. But you can be a subscriber, patreon.com/we're not wrong. You get a bonus episode of this show. And we're going to talk about Jen's chin strap.
Yeah, dude.
We're going to talk about, the EU is going to start deporting people. The EU is setting up outbound migration holding facilities and is set to deport more people. These Europeans, man. Just crazy. A crazy group of people. We're going to talk about that on the Patreon bonus episode, along with your emails. Let's talk about Disney adults. According to the Times of London, Disney adults, the highly devoted group of fans of Disney theme parks, are a powerful but often mocked subculture, playing a major role in the Walt Disney Company's business. These superfans visit parks like Disneyland frequently, spend heavily on passes, merchandise, and trips, sometimes build businesses around reselling the exclusive items they get therein. While they find community and escapism in Disney, the culture can be intensely competitive, with status tied to spending, sometimes upwards of $100,000 per year, attendance and online influence, leading to internal conflict and criticism. Rising costs, including expensive annual passes, paid line skipping services, have created tension even amongst the most loyal Disney adults. Although nostalgia, disposable income, and a desire for comfort and identity continue to fuel the phenomenon, Mr. Andrew Eaton, should Disney adults be mocked?
Of course not. No. Life is good, but it's also very hard and pretty short. And if you can snatch some joy out of the abyss, mazel tov. Like go have fun. As long as you're not hurting anybody, have fun with it. I think the article is designed to kind of make you feel superior to these people. It's the same sort of article that they would have written in the 1970s about Trekkies, of like, look at this weird subculture, look how obsessive they are, they seem infantile. And I didn't read that at all. I think this makes sense to me. There's a person that's in there that says that her and her partner both have purchased a Magic Kingdom pass for about $1,900 a year, almost $2,000 a year. And there's a lady in there that she's a teacher and she has that pass, but she also has to travel. She ends up spending $10,000 a year to go there. And there are people that live in Anaheim that go to the park twice a week that have this pass. How crazy is that? I don't think that's fucking crazy at all. I think it makes a ton of sense. How much does a country club cost? I think country clubs at the mid-tier range are like $4,000 to $15,000 per year, which is a totally respectable thing that people do, that they go to once or twice a week. If you own a sailboat, that's going to cost you $2,000 to $10,000 per year in terms of maintenance cost. You like skiing? If you want to go more than just a weekend, if you like skiing for a whole season, you're going to have to get a pass. You're going to have to get equipment. You're going to have to get a rental unit at a chalet or a slope somewhere. That's probably going to cost you $5,000 to $10,000 a year. I think that this makes total sense. If I lived in Anaheim, I would absolutely get one of those $1,900 annual passes. Like, I would rather go to Disneyland on a weekly basis than a country club. It sounds way more fun to me. I get to go on roller coasters. I get to go hang out at the Star Wars Cantina. All of that sounds really great. So I think that this is a attempt to make people feel superior by picking on a subculture. And I think that life is difficult enough that if you can find joy, go for it. And I think it is awful to make people feel bad for finding joy.
Jen, you going to stuff this fucking theater kid in a closet or what?
No, I can't. The hypocrisy would be too rich. I know that I've at least told Justin this. Mm-hmm. I don't know if the rest of the audience knows that I was essentially raised in an amusement park.
Oh, yes, yes.
So down the street from Disneyland is a different amusement park. It's called Knott's Berry Farm. And from the time that I was 6 years old until about 13, my dad was an executive at Knott's Berry Farm, which meant that we got to go to Knott's Berry Farm anytime we wanted. And like the glory years for me were a couple of years where my dad's office was actually behind the Bigfoot Rapids. So when he had to work on the weekend, I would just go with him to work and run around the park, like by myself, riding rides. And then I think I'd have to be back at his office at like 6. I knew all the shortcuts. So there was like gates that I could go to get from one park to the other, but I was allowed behind. Yeah. Security guards would let me in. It was awesome. And a part of that was we also got into Disneyland for free. And then when I was in high school, a bunch of people did get Disneyland passes. So it's like, Andrew, when you say that you would get the annual passes, you would have loved going to my high school. We were one city over and there were dozens of us that had annual passes. And like, that is what you did on Friday and Saturday. I was actually lucky. I had a few friends that worked there. And so they would just sign us in. So I would do this, but I didn't have to pay for it. So if you've ever thought that I was a privileged little princess before, like, oh boy, this story is going to tell you how true that is. And it was awesome. It was so fun. And what I really loved about spending time in the parks was that it was clean and it was safe and it was exciting because it was exciting when you were on the roller coasters, but then it was also incredibly boring when you were waiting in the lines, but you were hanging out with friends and getting into like really deep conversations because you had a fucking hour. What else were you going to do? I really loved, there's something different that happens when you go to these parks regularly where you don't feel the need to hit everything in one day. Like you can go and ride one ride and then just sit and people watch for a while.
Yeah.
Like I remember there's one particular spot outside of Space Mountain and they do a show in this thing like, I don't know, twice a day, but the rest of the time it's just empty tables. And so that's kind of what we would take over. You would just go there and find, your friends. And I remember there was an entire night where I never got out of my chair. I got a lemonade and I just sat there and was watching people, and the show would happen and people would dance and then they'd go away and then we'd watch all the little kids like excited or crying when they got off Space Mountain. We really enjoyed watching those. But there's something kind of nice about just being able to go to this manufactured world where everything's okay. It's built around joy. You're safe there. All the staff, they're mandated to be kind to you.
Yeah.
They call you guests. Because I also saw a lot of the behind the scenes with this because I had friends that worked there. Like Disney is a cult. Like the people that have worked there for 50 years, they have to love it. Because even on your day off, Disney will ask you to come in because, you get to ride the rides today. And my friends were like, fuck this. I don't want to be anywhere near that mouse. But then you'd see these other people that have been there for 50 years that are like, I am so blessed that I get to come to Disney every day. And it's the people that really drink the Kool-Aid that make that place so special. So, and like Andrew said, they're hurting no one.
Okay, well, can I ask you this?
Sure.
Everything that you've described are experiences from when you were either a child or a teenager.
Mm-hmm.
These are people well into their 40s that are going 2 or 3 times
I know them
a
too.
week. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there any distinction? Because the criticism is that this is some level of arrested development, or that as these parks continue to cater more to these customers, that you are eroding the experience for children. That this is essentially an entire class of customer that is pulling the ladder up on this because they want to relive their childhood so much, they're going to deny it by way of making these tickets more and more expensive for other kids to be able to come.
I mean, the tickets are more and more expensive because there's more and more people that want to go. I don't think it matters. Like an adult
park attendance is down at Disney, and it has been. It's been down since the pandemic.
Well, because they did this reservation system that I haven't,
which was another money squeeze.
Well, it was also they were trying to limit the amount of people because of social distancing. I get why it started. But I know that a lot of locals in Anaheim were just like, oh, they do this reservation thing. Like, fuck it. I don't even want to deal with that. And so it's a lot of us just like, don't even think of going. But with the Disney adults, yes, it's a form of escapism, but so is Vegas. Like people will move to Vegas and you don't shame them for wanting to be in this kind of manufactured environment. Going to Disney, if you like rides, you like a lot of it, like there's some older people that go and just sit. They're not really taking any resources. They just are there. So no, I don't think there's a single thing wrong with it, especially if you've worked your whole life and this is where you enjoy being, you're willing to pay the money. I don't think it takes anything away from children to have adults that also still feel a sense of whimsy, like to go there and to see a couple with no children wearing the ears and the t-shirts. Like I will not be that, but I think it's good for kids to see that you can still enjoy these things well into your 70s, 80s, 90s. Like, I don't think that that's a bad thing. I think that's one of the things that makes Disneyland magical is that it isn't just for kids, that adults can enjoy it too. Like it really is for everyone. I think it would suck if it became something that was only for kids. There's a reason why you have Fantasyland and then you have the other lands that aren't specifically for kids. It's because this is for everyone. It's a world. It's a fake little...
No, it's a land.
Well, you have Disneyland, but then you have Disney World, which are very, very similar to each other.
But one is big and good, and the other one's small.
Okay, Florida, let's not fucking fight about this. It's just a
small, cheap place. It's just a fake version, like a thumb.
Hey, Justin,
Justin, is the original.
Yeah, exactly.
Let me play the
in a swamp.
You know what? I'm going to sit out. You two keep going. I want to hear this California, Florida slap fight.
Well, no, I mean, look, it was, Walt he practiced, and then he actually did what he wanted to do. And that's what exists in Orlando. It was his vision.
he did it in Orlando is he couldn't get the land in Anaheim because people actually wanted to be there. They had to go to Florida because the swampland.
It does make it so much more magical that you get to walk by a rundown Motel 8 as you go into this fantasy world. It just brings everything into such an amazing relief that you're like, oh, is that? I bet you I could get a $5 blowjob right before I walk into the happiest place on earth.
So that was incredibly accurate in the 90s, but I will say that Disneyland has kind of Disneyfied the area outside of it. It's
slowly
actually made Anaheim a nicer place to be. But in the 90s, yeah, you're absolutely right. It was super sketchy. But the point is, like, you can go there in Anaheim and the weather is generally pretty nice. I mean, it can get hot like in the mid 80s, but not super humid, like in Florida where you want to die in the summer.
Okay.
So
I've got a question. Does one of these two places have like dinosaur era monsters that live in moats surrounding it and occasionally eat children?
Yes.
Which one is it?
Which one?
Oh, yeah, Florida, the good one. Like, why wouldn't you want that?
The one that has
you don't
reptile monsters that might eat your kid if they wander into a creek.
So,
I'm sorry. I thought we wanted an exciting experience.
So the question before was, are elderly people attending Disneyland ruining it for the children, but we're okay with the dinosaurs that sometimes drown them and eat them?
Hey,
sometimes
Justin.
Drown them and eat them is an aggressive phrase.
I think
it happened once, and it was tremendous negligence from the father. That being said,
not the dinosaur.
It's a fucking
so
animal.
Justin,
sometimes animals do animal things. Look, I will say, part of being a Florida man is that there are certain things that you just have a higher tolerance for because you've been there a lot more than the average person, and some people might look down on them. One of them is theme parks. I love theme parks. I lived, within a couple hours of Universal Studios. I lived a couple hours away from Disney. I remember very clearly when MGM, the MGM park opened at Disney. That's now called Hollywood Adventure. I remember very clearly. It was a huge part of my adolescence, my high school adolescence, that Islands of Adventure opened up in Universal. It was a huge thing. It was one of the best theme parks that I've ever been to. I love to go to theme parks. I really, it's actually shaped a lot of how I think about experiential stuff as I've gotten into content creation, like thinking about like how small decisions make people feel something. There's a real art to it. The other institution that a Florida man goes to a lot more that might alarm other people are strip clubs, but we don't have to talk about that now. We can just focus on theme parks.
So yeah, let me. I've not revealed this before, Justin, but I'm actually from an alternate universe where theater kids run the world. Where I'm from,
the Biden administration.
Actually, weirdly, Mitt Romney is currently president. It's a long story. Where I'm from, in this world where sci-fi theater movies are absolutely predominant, there's a subculture of people that are viewed as infantile who maybe played football when they were in high school and now wear jerseys like a uniform when they go to the grocery store, will spend tons of money to follow the team that they never played for around in a professional league and act as if they're an associate member of it. And I stand up for these people in this alternate universe and say, it's not my thing, but I'm glad it brings you joy. Just don't cause problems with parking. Don't fuck up anything else. But if you're having a good time, I'm glad. I'm happy for you. I don't think this is any different. The adult Disney people that are alluded to in the article that, aren't growing up and are weird because they dress up in costume. I know a lot of sports fans that dress up in costume, that dress up in garish, like green and blue face paint costumes. It's the same thing. The two things that I get out of this article that are like broad lessons are the Pareto principle, which we've talked about previously, but for anybody new to the program, welcome. The Pareto principle is the idea that all human distribution patterns follow an 80-20 rule. 80% of shoes are bought by 20% of shoe customers. The remaining 20% of shoes are bought by the overall 80% of shoe customers. And you see this pattern again and again and again. So in the article where it talks about how Disney's catering to these super fans, like, yes, the 20% of the people that love it are the ones that the revenue's actually coming from. I bet you 80% of Disney's park revenues coming from 20% of the people that go there. And so, yeah, not surprisingly, they're going to cater to those people that are doing the heavy lifting on it. That makes total sense. The other thing that I would bring up is reading this article, it's so clear that as human beings, we're always going to form hierarchies. Like there's no way out of that. Like the people that are a part of this Disney adult subculture are competing with each other to see who's the most Disney-esque. But then also you can do a purity card where like that guy's too weird. I'm just doing it for fun. Therefore, I'm the better person at it. And then meanwhile, the whole article itself on a meta level, I think was kind of designed to make you, the person at home, feel superior to everybody else. So like that stuff is just baked into us.
You know, the sports parallel is interesting because you do see some of the same complaints that sports has become increasingly less kid friendly. And it used to be a rite of passage that a father would bring a child to the game. Now that is really, really expensive. And it has been more tilted toward tailgate culture and drinking that has made the experience a lot less hospitable. Same thing with theme parks. You know, they made mention of it in here, but Walt Disney, who did build those parks as family, kid-centric experiences. At least that was his vision. One of those things is that there was no alcohol going to be served. He did not want a family outing at his park to be ruined because dad had a few too many pops and said something fucked up. Like that was a huge thing. It's part of the reason why Disney World isn't in St. Louis. He was initially thinking about putting it in St. Louis, and local people were like, yeah, you're never going to be able to do something without selling beer in the Midwest. And he was like, fuck you. I'm going to go to the swamp where there's dinosaurs. And so he did. But yeah, I think that there is something to that of, I will also say to cop much as Jen did, I would be an absolute hypocrite, and I'd probably be texted by my friend, Rachel almost immediately upon hearing this, that I have been both a experience ruiner for children at theme parks and at sporting games by being inappropriate and obscene and drunk in varying different flavors of that. So I am not above any of that, but that was part of, you know, when I would go there, you know, at 16, 17 to Islands of Adventure when it was first made, like, you know, I was a shithead 15-year-old doing shithead 15-year-old stuff. Like that was a part of it. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, as far as the Disney adults go, it's a subculture that is very loud. They're very extroverted. Mm-hmm. And so whenever you stick your head above water, you're going to get made fun of. Like that is just what it, part of the difference of the sports thing is that except for the super fans that are characters and, you know, they want to get on television and they're dressing up and everything, you can blend in at a sports game because you wear the uniform, because you wear the colors, you walk in, you cheer, you say hello, and then you go. You don't have to be this loud, obnoxious thing. Although obviously there are plenty of those.
That's what it felt like at the RNC. That's what I learned about MAGA at the RNC is like, as long as you had something Trump on your body, you were in the club. That's kind of what sports feels like to me. It's like, wear the hat, wear the jersey, you're in. Someone's going to give you a high five, even though they don't know if you actually like the team. They've never talked to you before, but you'll get a high five walking down the street. Like, or at least I've gotten
yelled at for comparing. I think it'd be healthier if we looked at politics like sports.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Absolutely,
way healthier. And I've got
for people to tip the deck and admit that's what they're just like. Yeah. Yes, I'm desperately craving tribal identity, and so I've decided to throw my sense of like. Yes, I think it would be great for people to realize what they're doing. I think a lot of people are doing just that.
That's a whole other conversation. We can save.
You guys see the picture I sent you this morning?
Yes. Oh yeah, Heaton. Oh my God, ridiculous. Heaton sent us 2 pictures to our group chat of the last time that he was at Disney.
Like a week before the pandemic.
He dressed so much like a guy on safari that the park employees were taking pictures with him because they were in the exact same outfit.
He looks like he works in the line at the Indiana Jones.
Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's that and the jungle safari ride where people kept asking me about the hours for the park. And I was confused at first until I was like, oh, I've accidentally dressed just like the people that are paid to work here, that are wearing silly costumes. That's me.
Actually, Andrew, you would have loved to be the guy who does the tour on the jungle safari. This was one of my friends. He was a theater kid, and that was his job. And so he had a script, but he was allowed to make jokes, like depending on who was there. And there was this one time that we were able to get the boat where it was just like our little group of friends. I think there were probably like 5 of us and a few other people, where he just kind of took them aside. And he was like, are you cool? And they were like, sure. And it was filthy from start to finish. I was dying laughing, but they're basically comedians.
Yeah.
And I think you could dress like that and be a comedian.
Well, Jungle Cruise is like, it requires a very, very your experience on Jungle Cruise will be determined by how good of a performer the person doing the ride is.
100%. One of the hardest jobs in the park.
If you are interested in theme parks, I cannot recommend highly enough a YouTube channel called Defunct Land. Defunct Land, they do little mini documentaries about all things theme park history. To your point about the FastPass stuff, did the math on every version of FastPass to see whether or not it actually got more people through faster, or if it was just a cash grab from like every version of it, from the earliest version of the idea to what they wound up doing later. Like, these are exceptionally well-made videos.
What was the verdict?
Not only did the system that they put in recently, not the most recent one, but the one that was current when he made the video, not only did it put less people through, it created such a fucking disaster that it made them more money because now they could solve their own disaster.
Interesting.
And I don't know if they thought that through. I think they just fucked it up. And then they were like, oh, now we can sell a way through our own self-made fuck up. But they wound up doing that. No, Defunct Land, great, great, great series. Go watch that.
Can I give you one olive branch as the Californian?
I don't know. Maybe.
No, I don't want to.
Yeah.
Universal Studios. Universal Studios Florida is so much better than Hollywood. It is not even close. Have you been to both of them?
Yeah.
Oh my God. The one in Florida, I was blown away by it. It's basically Disney World, but just different characters.
Yeah.
We've got,
it's so good.
We've got rattlesnake
and it's
derbies
kind of sad
in
because
Oklahoma.
that's one where like we had the original and we did it not necessarily poorly because it was the studio, but there was just no way for them to build a theme park like that.
It also helps when you build a town around a theme park as opposed to the other way around.
Yeah.
You know, like they built theme parks inside a metropolis inside LA or in Anaheim, which is adjacent but still very populated. Orlando did not exist functionally until Disney. And then with Universal Studios, they got enough land. They were still able to buy enough land. And now the new Universal Studios park,
there's another one?
Epic Universe, is not even connected. You have to take a bus. It was their old warehousing that they used to keep shit in. They tore all that down and made a whole new park. But that's where their Minions world is. Their How to Train Your Dragon. The Nintendo world is there.
Is that their third park?
Yes.
Okay.
It's Universal Studios.
Go back to the fucking swamp.
Islands of Adventure, and then Epic Universe. All 3 of them have a Harry Potter thing in it.
In Norman, Oklahoma, until recently, we had Little River Zoo, which was a zoo populated entirely by animals rejected from better zoos. So we had that going for us. You could pet our kangaroo because it was blind.
Womp womp.
We're not wrong pod at gmail.com is where you can write into the show. TSA delays was what we talked about. They hate us, right? Oh, and by the way, let me update you guys from the last time that we talked to you.
Yeah, dude. We probably should have done that up front.
I know. There was so much else to talk about. So when we last joined you, the Republicans had caved to the Democratic plan to fund everything but ICE and CPB. And then the Democrats rejected it.
And I lost my shit.
And you lost your shit. And then, because if there's one thing that senators love more than anything, is instead, they literally, like thieves in the night, had 5 senators on the floor and put it up for unanimous consent, meaning that nobody's on the record, so they don't have to say that anybody voted for it. And they approved it via unanimous consent at, I shit you not, dear listeners, 2:30 in the morning. So they could still get on their flights and get the fuck out of town for their 2-week recess. So then it goes to the House, and the House has to make a decision. They never wanted this. They already put a thing up to the Senate. So the House had to decide, do we pass this thing and reopen it? Or do we now try to jam the Senate back? And they decided, of course, to jam the Senate back. So what looked like might be like the Democrats didn't want to agree to it, but they wanted to agree to it in a hole in the sheet kind of way where they didn't have to.
You can't check their vote record.
They can't check their vote record. They can never say that they voted for it. Yeah. So they didn't want to take the win, but they did want to go home. So they agreed to this fakakta scheme that they pulled in the dead of night. And then the House was like, no, also fuck you. So nothing's happened.
Well, it wasn't the House. It was Mike Johnson, because if he allowed that bill to come for a vote, it's widely believed it would have passed.
It would have passed. Yes.
So this was Mike Johnson's decision.
Yes. It was Mike Johnson trying to hold on to his phony baloney job with the Freedom Caucus that were like, no, don't let this go forward or we hate you. And so now.
And so what the House sent back is a 2-month, what they call CR, continuing resolution, that would just fund it at the old levels until May 22nd, which they could have done from the fucking beginning, but they never did. So that has passed.
Okay, so this will get me through my trip to Austin. I'm okay now?
No,
it's all still shut
down. No one's going to vote for it because also they're still going to take their 2-week vacation. They do not give a shit.
Like, we have boots on the ships going to Iran.
But they passed the continuing resolution, or they didn't?
No.
The House passed it to the Senate. The Senate is on recess. Lindsey Graham, literally a Disney adult, pictures TMZ has now gotten in the game of publishing senators doing Senate things that are doing non-Senate things. And they got Lindsey Graham in Disney World with a little girl's bubble wand. No bullshit. Look up. In fact, we'll put the picture up right now.
They also got a group of senators in Europe. It was either Scotland or Sweden, something like that. But they got a whole group of them. They were only able to identify 3, but there were more than that in there. I love that TMZ is getting into the shame Congress game, because the irresponsibility of these fuckers being on vacation for these 2 weeks, it would be mind-boggling if they hadn't already done this in this Congress, like go on vacation. Actually, the last time the House did it for 2 months during the shutdown?
Well, that was during the shutdown. Yeah. I mean, shutdown politics are their own fucking thing, but it's like, but this one is.
They are, but I have watched a lot of shutdowns, and it is the vacation that causes the shutdown to end, because it was politically unthinkable that they would take the vacation while something was shut down. What's different in this Congress is they're taking the vacation anyway. We've reached a new low. This has never happened before.
No, they just don't give a shit. Which brings us to, they hate us, who writes, for the Dems, they have to walk the line between their more progressive activist base that's frothed up by Trump and their donor class of centrist rich people. These two groups largely want the opposite things from each other, so it's a tight spot to be in. Most everyone else only pays attention from Labor Day to Election Day, or every 2 or more likely 4 years. Why would they care what normies think?
I hate how accurate this analysis is.
Yeah. Favorite swear word writes, been a long-time listener. The last episode on the DHS shutdown had some genuine frustration that came through loud and clear. The language in particular felt a little spicier in the listen. It had me wondering, what are some of the panel's favorite curse words, swears, or insults, the one that you remember for later or have always wanted to use? We will start with Mr. Heaton.
Oh, the twat wants to hear swear words then. Bolt your rocket, you leather-faced numpty. Away and bow your head, you polyester cockwomble shit gibbon.
Shit gibbon.
The Scots are the best at swearing. They really are.
That's quite clever.
It's good. They have a good delivery for it.
And my favorite like inappropriate word is also Scottish, which is clunge. As in, oh, look at him, he's knee deep in clunge, which is just a horrible version of pussy.
Kind of sounds more like what happens.
Yeah. You could picture it, can't you? Like almost like a sci-fi film or something, like The Blob.
But I like the Scottish because when they're cursing, it sounds lyrical enough that the harshness kind of evens out. It's not like the Russians who are just like, you're just really angry at all times. And then the Germans who are terrifying. Like I just like it is a terrifying language, the German language. I'd like it. It's a cool language, but it is terrifying. It's very scary.
Especially when someone yells in German.
Yeah.
It's really scary.
Jen, favorite curse word?
I like the C word, but we're not allowed to say it in America.
Why not? You can say it here.
Cunt?
Well, I mean,
you're allowed. Yeah. Why don't you say cunt?
We weren't allowed to say it because, like,
who's we?
Women freak the fuck out when they hear that word.
When you call them cunts, yeah.
Oh yeah, they
no, they don't like
it. Lose it.
You don't call them that. If we're just saying it out loud, though.
I had only heard the word once or twice, and I knew it was just like not allowed. And then when I was living in Hawaii, one of my Australian friends, I can't remember what I said, but it was something really sassy. And he just looks at me, he goes, "You're a saucy cunt, aren't you?" I have never laughed so hard in my entire life. Yeah. I think saucy cunt is beautiful, especially in that accent. So that was my favorite swear of all
Speaking
time.
Of me ruining people's times at theme parks for being drunk. So early in our courtship, my wife and I were at Disney World and we were doing Epcot. So we got a little lit.
Best bar in the
world. Drinking around the world. And then we were going to go meet our friends, one of whom worked for Disney. And so we were in on his passes technically. And we were going to go to Haunted Mansion. They had just built this whole new line thing for Haunted Mansion. And it had this new kind of exit, but they hadn't really worked out where everybody needs to go. So there were some like awkward moments where lines were merging and people were like not sure who was supposed to be in the line. And especially when you're waiting in like an hour line, people get a little fussy about it. So we start merging back into this line. And there was a woman who was very angry at us. And was like, "Who do you think you are? You're not allowed to do that. You're not allowed to blah, blah, blah." And she's like an older woman. And my girlfriend, now my wife, looks her dead in the eyes and just goes, "Fuck you, cunt."
I cannot picture her saying that.
And I was like, I couldn't say this to her then, but in my head, I'm like, I want you to have my baby. I was more in love with her than I had ever been in love with anybody in my entire life, that she would just drop like a full fucking 8K C word on this woman who was being a bit of a cunt.
Yeah. I think it's becoming more acceptable now. I don't know why.
Yeah, because of the British. More. Well, because the British don't, it's not as bad over there. Like when I'm in Scotland, they're like, "Oh, he's a good cunt." Like it doesn't have the bite.
They have a whole different version of it.
I mean, here in America, we're hearing it more.
It was the look. I know you have a lot of problems with this presidency, but if there's one thing that promises made, promises kept, is that the bad words came back. There's a lot more of the bad words. And so it's like, it's not great when people who are awful use them, but I'd rather take the point of shaming awful people for using them bad and me be able to say it to my friends without reservation. Maybe this is the solution, right? Don't pay the TSA ball fondlers. I also think that ICE standing about in airports not harassing immigrants is probably the best of a bad situation.
I agree with the second sentence.
That's the other thing that happened, is that Trump paid the TSA ball fondlers.
And we don't know how that's legal, but he's doing it because that's what Trump does. He just fucking does it.
Yeah.
So actually, Andrew,
they got checks. They got checks this week. So
if you're traveling, which you are, and I am too, I'm going home for Easter to California. If we're traveling, they did get paid.
So there should be more.
The checks cleared. It should be fine.
We did see the big meltdown that I was fearing at Baltimore on Saturday after all this Congress horseshit. Yeah. But like there was like an actual full people, like 6-hour line wrapped around the airport 3 times kind of disaster. Hopefully that does not continue to happen.
Yeah.
If it does, like it's going to get the Senate back home. Well, like,
is it possible for the checks to bounce if he doesn't have the funding to cut these checks? Like, I seriously don't understand how our government functions anymore. Because theoretically, there is no money to pay those TSA agents. So where the fuck is it coming from? They say it's
out of the big, beautiful bill.
Nope.
There's some mechanism.
I read it. There's money for ICE.
No. Yeah. No. That was not earmarked for TSA.
No.
That is going to TSA.
Yeah. Which feels illegal to me.
Yeah. It's just one of those things of like, who's going to fight them on paying the TSA?
I know. It's just like our laws don't matter anymore. That's my bigger fear. Like, do the ends justify the means? And at this point, we're saying yes, but at another point, we have to go, well, do laws count?
I think he's given enough examples of him expanding his power that this is probably the wrong example for people to fight on. But I don't disagree. I mean, there were people talking about it on the Sunday shows.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, because it is just so... It's like he's doing a thing which is so rare.
But also,
that we want
it's a gift to the Democrats. That's the other thing. It's a gift to the. Yes, it is good for people who want to take flights that don't want to randomly have like a 5-hour delay that makes them miss their flight. So yes, it is good for Americans, but it is mostly politically good for the Democrats, because if the Republicans had their head on straight and just literally read the Clinton-Obama playbook for how to punish the party that is shutting down the country, you make things as painful as possible immediately. And you talk about every pain point that possibly happens, and you scream and yell from the top of the rooftops that everybody is dying because this money is not going out. The Republicans have not learned that. They're not good at it. And that's that. The death of millennial feminism was our other topic. Take account, right? Some people don't evolve. They just shift to a different soapbox. There's no growth, no realization that you were wrong because you never actually cared about the stance to begin with. If you actually care, you need to admit to being wrong. It'll help people that you led to the wrong conclusion to reach the right one. And mature adults apologize when they are in the wrong. Public voices do need accountability, and they ought to at least try to fix what they are doing.
Oh, and it sucks to do that. It's never fun to go in there and be like, so you know that thing I told you? That was bullshit.
Yeah.
But you got to do it.
Yeah, especially when
I'm really not looking forward to when I turn out to be wrong about something. It's not going to be a fun day.
One day. We're not. That's the name of the show.
That's true.
We're not wrong.
He said the thing.
Yeah. We're Not Wrong is a production of Dog and Pony Show Audio. Our editor is Will Saddleberg. PX3, we've got Riley Blanton. He writes a Substack, a military intelligence Substack called The Watchtower. We talked about why military people are over the moon, that this is the most effective military campaign in modern history, and nobody else is happy about what's happening in Iran. Not only some of the military specifics, we get a lot into what functionally it would take to reopen Hormuz, why it is a challenge, and why it's not to say that nobody had a plan to do it. It is just a matter of, if you start doing it, are you ever able to stop? That, and then Friday, very interesting conversation. Guy by the name of Jason Levin, who runs a website called Meme Lord Tech. It is a site where you can track memes that are trending and then edit them and post them immediately, because he very much believes in the power of memes. To him, they are the most dense form of communication. It is knowledge, it is laughter, and it cuts through the clutter in a way that not many things do in our very, very complicated and busy world. And so we talked about this a little bit on last week's episode, Jen, but the meme warfare that's happening with Iran, the meme warfare that's happening with the United States, to his mind, and we talk about it a lot, this is not a mistake. This is not a random aberration. This is a deliberate way that you are able to get messages across by putting them in meme form, and the messages you should take deadly seriously. We help map out. There's a lot you can tell about memes that might not be immediately present to you. It's a very good conversation, and that is Friday on PX3. Jen, what's sizzling on the dish?
So the 335th episode of Congressional Dish is a summary from February. It took me a little longer to get it done because what they accomplished in Congress was 5 out of the 12 government funding laws that were due back in September. But these were the difficult 5. So it included defense and state. And so most of the episode is going through all 5 of the funding bills, and then there were a few more laws there. But if you really want to understand what Congress put into law, and there's some stuff that I highlighted that I've probably talked about like 10 years ago that is still in law today. So I find this one to be really interesting because it's going to help you understand how things become law, and especially when it comes to defense. There are some decisions that Congress has made for the Defense Department that they didn't want, that we are seeing the consequences of in Iran today. So yeah, it's a really good lesson in government, very info heavy. So yeah, check that out.
Heaton, The Orphanage.
You know how we joke about how Congress is full of narcissists and sociopaths, or Washington is full of lizard people, a joke that we've made before? I got thinking about that. I was like, is that real though? Like in terms of like clinical narcissists, in terms of clinical sociopaths, are there careers that attract them higher than others? And if so, what do you do when they're in there? How do you deal with them? I tracked down a guy that started out as a therapist and then became a lawyer and has written a number of books on narcissists and sociopaths to talk to me explicitly about narcissists and sociopaths in politics, why they gravitate that way, how they manifest, the patterns of behavior they have, and how to deal with them.
That might have been my first hot take, that I realized that I could get a reaction out of people that really, really loved presidents by saying that every president had to be a sociopath. And I remember people being very, very upset with me for saying it, which made me want to say it all the more. And that's why I have the career that I have today. I'm very excited. I will listen to that episode immediately.
Well, I'll tell you one thing that I learned from him is the difference between a narcissist and a sociopath. Do you guys know the difference?
Oh, really?
Yeah. So we use the terms interchangeably, but
hold on. Can I take a guess?
Take a guess, yeah.
On the difference between a narcissist and a sociopath? A sociopath, I think, clinically does not understand the feelings of other people, but is very good at mimicking them and mimicking getting through things by acting in a certain way to get what they want, although that they cannot really internally understand those feelings, where a narcissist does have the ideas, that does have the same emotion. They have an emotional connection to people. They are just so involved in themselves that they make very selfish decisions.
I like that definition. I think I've heard a definition like that before. So maybe there's not a settled terminological weight on this. But according to Bill Eddy, my guest, the way he explained it to me, which makes sense to me, is a narcissist craves adulation. A sociopath craves domination. So a narcissist wants everybody to look at them and say how great they are and how fantastic they are. A sociopath wants to exercise dominion over somebody else and to crush other people. They both probably have problems with empathy. They both probably have problems with impulse control. But it's that adulation versus domination phenomenon. And you can have both. You can have a malignant narcissist who is somebody that craves adulation and wants to destroy enemies.
Interesting.
So basically, Orlando versus Anaheim.
Not a contest. All right. That's it for us. For Jen Bryony and Andrew Heaton, I'm Justin Robert Young, telling you that we're not wrong. The Genie FastPass system is.
Cock wobble.
Genie?
Yeah, that's what it's called.
Dog and Pony Show audio.